Welcome back to part 2 of the video. I'm filming it all on the same day, but I think I'm going to release it in 2 different weeks so that way I can get the editing, because editing sometimes takes a long time. Anyways, so hemming is a lot like doing a casing. Normally when you're doing a hem, just like a normal hem, nothing's fancy like a blind hem or like, I don't know, I can't think of anything besides a blind hem right now, and you're doing it on a sewing machine instead of sewing it by hand. Most of the time for basic things, you're going to have it fold up 1/4 of an inch right here, and then it's going to fold up another inch. Okay, now this has it's a square, there's right angles here. Okay, that makes it very, very easy. And the 2 parts of the pants pattern, as I mentioned before, so this is the pants pattern that I used. Right angles, super easy to do. Okay, and this one, even though they curved it in to make it fit, you know, more fitted, it's still on this section, it's all square. It's a right angle right there. Now, with a lot of pants patterns, if they're going to be more like this, where they come in. This is a little bit exaggerated. All right, so what I did is I didn't cut this until I had the fold in where it was going to go. In a lot of pants patterns, they're going to have things start to come in like this, but then at the very end it's going to come out like that. And the way that you get that is you figure out where you want your hem to end and you fold it. As you can see, it's just this mark right here, because if you don't have that, then you would be hemming something that's smaller here than it is here. And that makes things very difficult, especially when you're going to shorten pants. And the larger your hem is, the more difficult that is, unless you have something that's like that right angle kind of thing. And that can happen a lot. If you have a dress that at the waistline it has gathers or pleats, then you could end up with a very simple hem on the bottom. Those vintage dresses where they have the huge hems, so that way it stays nice and flat, because the hem will sometimes, after you wash it, it'll like flip around a little bit. But on the big dresses, like the vintage ones where they have a huge hem, they do that so that, well, in part, so that way it stays nice and flat. At least that's what I think. But here for pants, it would be really hard. Okay, now I didn't bother bending this back to get that exactly perfect, but if you look, this isn't going to make that big of a deal, right? Whereas if this was way over here, then you'd be dealing with the problem. Then you've got a smaller circle inside a bigger circle, and then it doesn't lay flat like you want it to. Okay, so that's why on a pants pattern they do this little coming out at the same angle kind of thing. Now where it gets difficult is what happens when you have a curve. I mean, just folding it up the 1/4 inch to hide the raw edge, I'm already getting some parts that don't want to lay flat. That's why if you have a hem that's curved like this, like I have with this skirt that I made, there are other ways you want to do it, but you don't want to have a huge hem. Because if you have a really huge hem, then you're going to have the opposite problem from what these the pants thing here. You're going to have way more fabric trying to come into a smaller space. And then that's not going to lay flat either. Or if you like fold it with the little triangles and stuff, then that part has a little point. We want it to be nice and smooth. Now I could kind of make it smooth when I only did 1/4 of an inch. But it's a lot harder if I was doing a full 1 inch hem on that. So on this skirt that I made, I am only going to do, I'm going to fold it up 1/4 of an inch and then do 3/8 of an inch. So I've already recorded the footage for the pants being hemmed, but there is one little thing that I would do extra because I didn't hem it when all of the seams were already done. So let's go ahead and do that first, and then we'll do the hem for the skirt. Okay? Okay. Bruce. Is that okay? Yeah. I've got this sleeve board set up so that I can iron even in this smaller space. Like I said before, hopefully I'm working on creating a better space to be able to cut out and iron and stuff like that. But for now, this sleeve board will do the job because it's made so that you can put a sleeve on it and iron it easily. Anyways, so the pattern itself on it says 3/4 of an inch hem allowed. So that means total folding that I'm going to do. Normally when I hem, I have 2 folds. One to cover the raw edge, and that one's going to be 1/4 of an inch. And then the other one that gets it the rest of the way. So the rest, 3/4 of an inch minus 1/4 of an inch is 1/2 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and do 1/2 of an inch. And there's things called seam gauges which make this easier, but I have lost them all. So I'm actually going to put it at the 1 measurement and then measure up 1/4 of an inch from there. Okay, you can see, well, it's a bad angle, but I'm measuring 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm gonna do it again. Yeah. Okay, so I've done 1/4 of an inch right there. Now I'm going to fold it one more time up at 1/2 of an inch. Okay. So I've got 1/4 and then another 1/2 for a full 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and then I'm just going to sew along there. I'm going to do the other one first, actually. There we go. So I've gone ahead and pinned along the way. Okay, Now, some people say that you should sew it this way because the feed dogs pull on it. Some people say this way. I like to sew it this way so that I can see where I'm sewing. All right, so I'm going to just sew it I'm gonna line it up with here. I'm gonna sew it just on this side so that I can control it. Kneel down. Actually, that looks too far out. I think I'm gonna come in a little bit. Oh, it looks okay. You can see what it is that I'm trying to focus on, okay? I don't want, if I look on the inside right here, you can see that what I want is to grab all of the sections. So, because I don't want to pull on this and then have it flip out. So it looks good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. There we go. Now that I've got the inseam in, I'm going to sew this down just a little bit, so that way it lies nice and flat. If I don't have it, then this part kind of wants to always be pointing in that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew it down so that it resembles more a hem, like that I had done all the seams and then done the hem. And it's just super simple. I'm just gonna sew a little bit right here. See? Now it wants to lay nice and flat. And I'll just do the other one really quick. Now because I'm not going very far, I'm not back stitching. I'm just going forward and then back and then counting that as my back stitching. See? Now it looks really nice. Play a sad song on the violin. I lost a lot of footage. What I did was sew 1/4 of an inch around the bottom of the skirt and then sew just on the other side of it. Oh, I'll explain in just a little bit. So I lost all this footage of me ironing this. Because my device was full, I didn't realize it, it stopped recording, and I lost it all. It stopped recording like 4 seconds into the video, so that was annoying. Anyways, what I did is I ironed it just on this side of the stitches, and then that makes it lie a little bit flat, because when you iron things, especially if you have steam, it will help readjust where the fibers are. And then ironed it here. Now I still need to stretch it a little bit, but because I ironed it, it does lie a little bit flatter than it would have if I hadn't. So I put in the pins as well. So this distance right here, I kept measuring as I went, should be about 3/8 of an inch. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew this now. So, as you can see, turn my iron back on. The skirt looks pretty good, but it still looks not as finished. I'm gonna iron it again, even though I ironed it before I sewed it. Okay. Yeah, the sleeve board. The sleeve board's really saved me today. I'm going to iron this. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna iron this. Well, technically I should do it from this side. It's a little bit of a wobble, so I'm going to give it some steam. Now it looks really good, really nice and flat. All right, so that's the end. So this is the end of both projects. We've got the skirt, which has a really nice looking hem, even though it's got a circle. Like I was saying before, when you iron it, it helps flatten this out and like readjust the fibers so that they lie nice and flat. And this one was square in the first place. So that hem looks really good too. And because I sewed that little section right there, when it doesn't make this like eye shape like this, it makes a nice circle-y shape when it's being worn. So anyways, I hope that explains really well how to hem. I hate hemming, to be perfectly honest. It's something that you think should be way simpler than it is, and then it takes so much time to do. Like so much time. And like the number one thing that people tell me they have a problem with is the hem, because they think it's going to be a lot simpler than it is. And so remember that you need to look for that corner to see if it is straight or not, and make sure you don't just cut this section off if you're making pants. And I wish you good luck. There are more fancy ways to hem, and there probably are other techniques and stuff, but that is the technique I like to use for doing a curved hem. So good luck out there, and have a good one. Bye. Hello, Bruce. Are you in my spot again? You can stay.